Everyone likes Coke. That's why it's wise to keep a generous supply of Coca-Cola in your refrigerator. So remember, the next time you go shopping, get Coca-Cola for yourself, for your family, and for friends who come to call. Everybody likes Coca-Cola.
Every second, 9,675 Coca-Cola products are purchased, 4,000 cups of Nescafe are consumed, and 1,700 Snickers wrappers are pulled back. There are 7,126,000,000 people on this planet, all of us sharing at least two things in common: our need for food and water for survival. And of these people, of these liquid-guzzling, food-devouring beings, 1.4 billion of us are overweight, and nearly 900 million people go to bed hungry each night. Our agricultural system provides us with more than enough food for us to feed everyone on this earth, but somehow things got skewed. And in a horrible twist of irony, the majority of the hungry are the small-scale farmers or workers who are providing 2 to 3 billion people with nourishment. 60% of farm workers live in poverty. And with the wildly fluctuating food prices, along with the rapidly increasing demand for soy, corn, and sugar, it seems unlikely to change anytime soon.
The system we set up around ourselves in the Western world and towards third world countries, we call them third world countries, and we call them underdeveloped. I traveled for 6 years in developing countries, and I find sometimes that they're way smarter than we are in parts where they're not civilized, where they're still living their old ways. And the root is that we have to produce more cheap to feed our capitalistic system in some way. So we have to produce more and make it available for everyone. There is a big problem that we grow and grow more in numbers, but the problem isn't the education of how we actually can feed ourselves.
Before the turn of the 19th century and the invention of preservation techniques like refrigerators or canning came into play, we buyers more or less knew where our food was coming from. We could tell you how it was grown, and we knew that the people selling it to us were living, breathing humans, and not monsters. So who owns our food? In our world today, 10 companies dominate the food and beverage industry, owning everything from Mars bars and Coca-Cola to breakfast cereal, toaster pastries, and weight loss products. These 10 companies collectively make more than $1.1 billion a day. Their products litter the majority of the shelves in grocery stores around the world. They employ millions both directly and indirectly, and are part of an industry valued at $7 trillion, representing roughly 10% of the global economy. These are the Big 10. They rule the agricultural industry, and not always justly or well. For the past 100 years, they have relied on cheap labor and cheap land to produce cheap products and ridiculously huge profits. Take Nestle, for instance, who in 2010 reported revenues larger than the GDP of Guatemala or Yemen. I think the scariest thing about these huge corporations is their complete dominance over the entire industry. Did you know that 83% of the foodstuffs we consume have at some point come into contact with one of these companies? And the rivalries are all fake too. In reality, there's no Fanta or Sprite or Twix or Snickers. It's all just Coca-Cola or Mars. So what? All these brands are owned by the same companies. Big deal. And it wouldn't be if they were doing it right. But in the case of the Big 10, they're just really not. For increased amounts of child labor, sexist payrolls, polluted water supplies, and wages that fall underneath the minimum wage, it's just really not working out. Perhaps one of the most horrible consequences that they're having is the horrible effect that they're having on our environment today. If the Big 10 collectively were one country, they'd be the 25th most polluting country in the world, more so than Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark combined.
Esas plantas que se ven ahí de palma, se llaman palma africana, la utilizan acá en Costa Rica para hacer aceite comestible, para cocinar y muchas cosas más.
Pues usando para las plantas para producir la fruta. Uno de los problemas más grandes en esta compañía es que todos los químicos van al agua. Eso afecta directamente al manglar y a todas las especies marinas que tenemos en el río. Eso afecta también a las personas de Sierpe, que está muy cerca de aquí, a 10 minutos, porque todos ellos viven de la pesca artesanal, por ejemplo. Muchos de ellos también dependen del turismo que hacen aquí a diario en tours de manglares. También uno de los otros problemas es la compañía de piña que está arriba con la arrocera a 20 minutos de aquí, que también utilizan muchos químicos y todo va al agua.
The point here is, these mammoth corporations aren't having much of a positive effect on this planet or its inhabitants. And as some of the world's most influential companies, we here at Fork the System think that they could do a lot better. So what are we gonna do? We need to change a system where we feel powerless against these corporations. A system where we as consumers no longer know where our food is coming from. We have to chase the monsters currently owning our food and get them to act like humans again. But we're not powerless. We as consumers have the enormous power of our vote. Every time we buy something, we are giving it our stamp of approval. Our buy, our vote. So let's vote for what's right. Here at Fork the System, we've come up with a three-pronged method: pledge, boycott, and recruit.
I'm gonna boycott Kellogg's because I don't like the way they treat their female workers, and until they change that, I'm gonna stop eating them.
I boycott all Coca-Cola products until they change their land rights policies.
I will not eat anything that the Mars Corporation will make until and unless they change their land policies.
I will not eat any products of the Nestle Corporation until they change how they treat their farmers.
I will stop eating from Mondelez International until they stop creating so much waste.
Not gonna work. Put it up. It's happening. I can pledge.
1, 2, 3.
Boycott. Use our app to help you figure out which company you should boycott, sorted by issues, brands, or general monstrosity. Check out the company scorecards, which give each company a rating based on 7 criteria. They're continually updated so you can see when your boycotted Big Ten starts to improve their policies based on your actions. Recruit. You know the drill. Nominate 3 friends, enemies, or pets to join our village against these monsters. Our votes matter. Let's use their power for good. Let's use what we eat to tame these monsters. Our buy, our vote. So village, I call upon you. Let's join up. Together, we can fork this system.
Our buy, our vote.